one more show of the table topics, and it's Wednesday, and here on channel 95, it's table topics one more show. John, my co-host, is still not here. He probably will show up sometime during this half an hour, but we're gonna be talking today about hortensias. Hortensias is this beautiful flower that I have right here on my left side, and it's originally beautiful around this time in St. Michael, Azores. For those that are from there know exactly what I'm talking about. Those that never actually went there are gonna probably visualize the plant through my friend's eyes, because he went there, and he probably he can say it for himself, but he probably never saw something, if he liked this kind of flowers, something like that. Dave, thank you for my invitation to come to the show today and talk about this beautiful plant. Well, and how you got involved with this this plant.
Crazy idea. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me and to listen to this story, because it's a beautiful story about a plant that originally is from Japan. But as my friend Malcolm Congdon, who is he's a sort of a partner in this idea, he's a curator over at Heritage in Sandwich, which has experimental hydrangea gardens. And it turns out that this plant here, the one that's blue, is called a macrophylla, and the macrophyllus, they're the only hydrangea that grows off its old dead wood. All the rest of the species of hydrangeas grow off new growth. Mm-hmm. But this particular plant grows off its old wood, and it starts budding in November and December. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in a place like the Azores, where it's moderate temperature almost year-round, there's mm-hmm. never any too cold and never too hot. So they thrive. This particular one, the macrophyllus, thrive in the Azores, and as Mal would say, also in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. So as Carlos has said, if you go to the Azores now, they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's almost breathtaking. So mm-hmm. I went there my second time. The first time in November, there were no hydrangeas. There was nothing, but people would talk about. Mm-hmm. There would be hedges. They'd say, oh, you should see these hedges in the summer. They're full of hydrangeas. It was hard to imagine in the cold mm-hmm. winds of the Azores in November. But I went back a year later in June, and it was overwhelming and breathtaking. Hydrangeas everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I got on a plane and went home, and I asked myself, gee, I know there are hydrangeas in Fall River, and I know there are Azorians in Fall River, but the government buildings, and there was no exhibit or connection with the Azorian culture and their plant in the city. Mm-hmm. So it just was an idea that sort of struck me, and it almost took over my body. Yeah. I wanted to mm-hmm. make this happen.
And I'm going to send some pictures to Stephen. He's going to be kind enough to just add it to our show, so people actually can see the beauty of these plants in St. Michael, this particular place in this particular island. They're all over the place. They're pretty much all over the islands, but particular in St. Michael.
I also, by the way, Carlos, I've heard, and Malcolm has said that, and Fayal yes. has a, I don't know who has more, but they're just...
Yes. So you went to St. Michael just visiting somebody, or no, just in vacation?
I live in Westport, and when I moved here from Northampton, I started. I was attracted to Fall River. I can't tell you why. I started taking classes over on Bedford Street, and one of the classes was on Azorian history. It was culture, geography. It was 6 subjects. And so my wife and I, we took this class, and we just got enamored with the whole Azorian culture. And my family, my grandparents are all from Sicily. So I have a sort of an island, an island mentality. And I just got taken taken with the Azorians and spending a lot of time in Portugalia. So it was natural for us to go to the Azores, and we fell in love with it and just wanted to keep going back.
So last year was a disaster for travelers. So you didn't went there last year.
No.
You didn't went last year. It's on the plans this year sometime.
Well, what happened is when this idea, I went around and it took a while to get any traction. And as it turns out, People Incorporated, they were putting plants around City Hall.
Yes.
And they were putting annuals, and every year they'd have to buy new plants. So I was, asked to talk to People Incorporated, and I did. I had this conversation with several people there, and they agreed that instead of putting annuals, that they would put hydrangeas. So it took a while. They asked me how much it would cost per plant, and I then found my friend Malcolm Condon, who is the curator over at Sandwich Heritage Experimental Hydrangea Gardens, and he came up with an idea called pots in pots. And we would put a pot in the ground, and we would take the second pot, put the plant in the pot, and take the pot out in the winter. So we wouldn't have to deal with this cold weather, with a chance of these plants every year coming back. It was an experiment, but the only way it would work was that we needed a nursery to bring these plants. That's when Carlos Cesar comes in, and we say, Malcolm and I say to Carlos, can you find us a nursery in town, preferably an Azorian nursery, that we could store these hydrangeas for the winter. And sure enough, we went to Abinash, thanks to Carlos, and we put them in a greenhouse for the winter.
So, and that was a process, right? So you come from the island with the idea of doing it in here in Fall River, bringing the plants everywhere in Fall River. So the idea was there, but then was a process. Where did you start?
Well, where I started was to try to get somebody to buy this idea.
Yes.
And I started out, I went to City Hall and I didn't get very far. And I went to the chamber and I didn't get very far. I did come across Sandy and David Dennis, and they introduced me to People Incorporated, and then they asked me to pitch it to them, and they bought the idea. People Incorporated bought the idea, and it turned out we put 53 of these hydrangeas around City Hall, and the planters around City Hall, and on I don't know if that's North or South Main Street over there, and then we had to, the People's Incorporated, their staff watered them for the first year. We had a big barrel, and they were watering them by hand. It was a labor of love for everyone. And they came out, and the people in City Hall and the people around just were transformed. They had big smiles on their faces.
Yes.
You know, this plant gave them joy.
And the project keeps growing now, right? It's been what, 2-3 years that you bought the idea?
Yes.
Even locally, governments adopted the plant because you brought the idea into the table at city council, and the city now adopted the plant, right?
Adopted the plant as the official flower, it's the official ornamental flower of Fall River.
Of Fall River.
Is the hydrangea. Okay, or in Latin and in Portuguese, it's Hortencia.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have the next year we put plants. We're sitting here at Old 2nd Street. We put plants here on Old 2nd Street, and we are talking to local businesses, banks. Some people already have. There's a bank right next door to us that you can't see from here, but they have beautiful hydrangeas. But we want them, and we don't want them just in downtown. This project is a citywide project, so all of the neighborhoods are ripe for us to put them in public places.
And once again, the COVID kind of put the project to sleep for a year, because there's nothing you could do last year. And so actually this is the second year if
No,
we take
actually,
last year.
I did take them out. I had a mask on, and last year was the second year, and we brought them out. And as it turns out, we were having a watering problem because of the people that worked at People Incorporated because of COVID, they couldn't water. Okay, so and City Hall sadly has has a faucet that you could hook a hose up to, but it isn't really a watering system adapted for putting flowers around City Hall. That's a to me a sad commentary that a government building for the city, and you wouldn't have your house without flowers in front of it, but somehow we have a beautiful building without any ability to put nice flowers. So we had to figure out how to get water to these plants, and we got a golf cart that was donated by the Dennises and two other nonprofits. I think nonprofits. Anyway, it was, and we took the golf cart, put a big 50-gallon tank of water, and one of the city employees drives it around here. It's like the Fred and the Flintstones, and he waters all these plants, and it puts joy on a lot of people's. I mean, it's one of those projects that people feel good about right now.
I remember the first you contacted me with the idea, being born in San Miguel, and being around all my life on this plant. We never paid attention to the plant, and I bet you there, not everybody pays attention to the plant, and because we see them everywhere.
Everywhere.
One of the things that I liked about the project was the fact that your idea is to see them all over the city. So now the process, I think the step now on the process now is to contact the business to adopt the plants and to have the spaces decorated with this plant. So that is the project going. That's what's going. The plan is going on right now.
Yes, and I think it's multifaceted. There's nothing stopping anyone who says, I want to put some hydrangeas in front of my house or in front of my business or on the streets. I have a vision at some point of having hydrangeas all the way up Anawan Street. I see them on Eastern Avenue. I could see them on Pleasant Street.
We have beautiful islands, that if you put those, they will look beautiful.
I agree. It was funny, once you get this idea in your head, I was driving down Plymouth Avenue, maybe during COVID time, and the Taco Bell was putting a new Taco Bell in, and I just wanted to stop and go in there and say, please don't put whatever you're putting in, put in hydrangeas. Well, I didn't. It was a bad time to do that. But it's sort of like that. If we can get enough people to just connect to this plant, I think it would help build some civic pride, and I think it would be good if it were all over the city.
And I think that something probably the city could get could help out, because we have a lot of developments going on.
Yes.
If the plant it's part of their project to beautify their property, I think we could benefit. If we're building homes like never before in Fall River. I mean, you see new homes going up everywhere. Put a couple of plants on those new homes, and I bet that 5 years after, you have a tremendous bush with this plant on your house.
I would say, this is Mal Congdon speaking, and he's world renowned. We're lucky to have him as a partner in this project. He is a sort of adopted Fall River. He lives. He used to live in Nantucket. He lives on
It's
Cape.
still a good drive to come here, but
he doesn't mind. He loves Portuguese food. I brought him to all kinds. I brought him to Caldeiras, and I brought him. He loves.
But something, for his age, it's a long drive.
But he doesn't mind coming here. He loves it. I've taken him on old, South Main. I've just introduced them to this city, and this city has so much to offer, and so we wanna tap into that. But now if Mal were here, he would say, the name hydrangea itself, hydra means water. You cannot plant these plants without having water. You have to water them. You have to maintain them, and if you give them too much water, that's what happens right over there.
Yes.
If you don't give them enough water, they'll die as well. And so we encourage people to plant them, but if they're not going to water them, then it'll be failed, and they'll be disappointed. And we don't want that to we don't want this project to, because in the Azores, you don't have to worry about it.
No, they grow. Like I told you the first time I met you, you put a stick on the ground, and the next year you have a beautiful plant.
Right. But I would say to this people, I will give this story because I think it's illustrative of what happened. When I was first coming up with this idea with Mal, and we went back and forth with all the other species of hydrangeas, which are arborescens, paniculatas, oak leaf, and others, okay? Those hydrangeas you put in the ground, they're like any other plant. In the fall, you cut them back, and in the spring they grow. It doesn't matter what the temperature is.
I have them on my house.
Yeah, So if you want to put hydrangeas and you don't want to worry about anything, you buy everything but a mat. So I was sitting at Portugalia one day, and I went to Michael Benvenides, the son, and I said, we're going to put this pots and we're going to do macrophyllus, and we're going to take them out and put them in. He said, oh my God. I said, oh my God, that seems like a lot of work. I said, well, it is a lot of work, but it's the flower of the Azores. So I went to his father, and I said, what do you think we should do? Macrophyllus or all the others? He said, macrophyllus. So I said, okay, we need to put the plant that's in the Azores in this city. In this city, in public places.
Yes.
The rest of the community, they're all beautiful. Hydrangeas are beautiful. And what's beautiful about this plant is that it's one of the few plants that even when it dries, it's beautiful.
Yes.
The colors change. Hydrangeas change color. So how many flowers can you get that change color over a period of 1, 2, 3 months?
The same plant change color.
The same plant changes and gives beauty all the time it's doing it. So this is a win-win for the city.
Yeah. As you know, we own a cleaning company for years, and all my clients are most in Rhode Island. 95% of my clients are in Rhode Island, and they have no connection at all to Portugal, but they all have the plant. And today, yesterday, I get to a house, and I see her with the pot on the stove, and she has the plant in hot water.
Really?
Yes, because it holds the color and everything in hot water, and she decorates the house because the plant lasts like for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes.
It's
an extraordinary plant, really. It is.
And they love to decorate the house inside with the plant because they keep growing. The plant outside keeps growing. The more you cut it, the more it comes back.
Well, to that, it's funny. To that point, I have suggested to people in the city that this could be an economic development issue, because if you next week, starting I think this Friday, in the Cape, there's the Hydrangea Festival for 2 weeks, and people's houses are being opened up, heritage, experimental gardens. If you want to see hydrangeas, if you've never seen them, you want to see spectacular hydrangeas, go out to Sandwich. It's no more than an hour's drive from here, and it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. So one of my visions is that this isn't just a civic pride project. It is for me a civic pride project, but I think it has economic potential to propagate hydrangeas, plant hydrangeas, have people come and see hydrangeas. We could be a hydrangea city.
You think could be a point of attraction to the city?
I think if it's done
to a point.
Yes.
Maybe a parade.
Well, here's my imagery.
Now we're talking tourism.
Yeah, no. Here's my imagery. I remember my wife and I used to go to Villefranche, over on the French-Italian border, and right on the border between France and Italy is a town called Menton, and Menton has lemons, and so you go there in a certain time of year, and we happen to be there. There's a lemon festival, and the place is packed with people just to see lemons. Now, of course, we all know Provence is where lavender is, and
Yes.
the whole region benefits from, I mean, they're making a product out of lavender, they're making oil, but tourism is a huge component of the lavender experiment. Well, we can't make any product other than the flower itself for the hydrangea, but I think the Cape is an example right now. And by the way, the chamber is an integral part in the Cape with the Hydrangea Society. And I can see this to be my vision, that it has economic potential. I believe that. It'll need to be nurtured and fostered. You know, it takes time to, you know.
Wow. The other day I saw on TV, it's funny that you're saying that people go there because of the lemons, because I believe somewhere in Spain it's tomatoes.
Yes.
They even have a parade, a fight parade. People throw tomatoes into the parade, you know. So that weekend it's a tomato.
Well, so you see, it doesn't matter what it can be any. In Providence, we know it's water fire. It's fires in the river.
Yes.
Okay. You just have to get something that, and I think I would just say this, that once this idea came out, I've been invited. I was invited to the Flint and to Maplewood and others, at least three neighborhoods, and people wanted to give us money. They had smiles on their faces. We weren't asking for money. They just liked the idea.
Yes.
So you think, wow.
Yeah. I mean, for you gives you like a light on the end of the tunnel, that you know that you still have that road to go through the tunnel, but you can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. I will tell you one vision that I have is for tourism for this town, or let's just say how people see, how they see anything, but how they might see Fall River. If tomorrow, if you could put 500 hydrangeas on either side of, as you go under 195 under City Hall, if it were nothing but hydrangeas, people driving from Providence to the Cape would see something they never saw before, and they would ask themselves, what's going on there? And I think that's what we want. What's going on there?
Yes.
Okay, and we want it everywhere in the city. We want people in the city and outside the city to, when they come here, they think hydrangeas.
Another thing in Portugal is the souvenirs. You see the hortensias in a lot of stuff they sell for tourism. You know, you see on pens, you see on, on napkins, you see everywhere, you see the plant. So they know that the plant is a good tourism. You know.
I would tell you something, Carlos, about this. You see this shirt? Okay.
Yes.
And there was a picture of me in the paper the other day with a shirt that Michael Benvenides got me, that had hydrangeas. And you don't know how hard it is to get a shirt with hydrangeas on it. Now, you can buy shirts with all kinds of crazy flowers, but to me, here's a city that makes things, manufactures things. I think you could manufacture hydrangea shirts, hydrangea skirts, hydrangea tablecloths, hydrangea napkins. When you look for them in places, there's just a dearth of these, and I think, well, if there's a place, any place in this country that we should be able to make.
Do you have a tablecloth?
No,
I have one.
A hydrangea one?
Yes, I have one. I will bring you one from Portugal.
Oh, good.
Yes, so you will have it on your table. For breakfast, you will, when your wife sets up the table for breakfast, you're going to have a surprise.
Good.
You're going to have.
But I envision somewhere in this city a place where people would come to buy hydrangea products. I don't know why not. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean,
and now that the flower is identified in the city, probably will not be a bad idea to have the city name on it, Fall River, on the shirt.
Yeah.
You know, and sell it for tourists. From here, what is the
Well, let's talk about the Flint, because I know that's your area. And I think we should, I'd like to know where we could go to take this idea in the Flint, because I know that we started out in downtown. Well, we started out in City Hall because it's City Hall.
like I said, last year was kind of a dead zone because we could not do anything.
Yes.
So we are starting our board meetings again. I will definitely put on the agenda back again for review. And I think our next step probably will be identify locations that we could have it. I would like the city to pick up some too, because we have a lot of city parks. And some city parks don't have plants. So identify, they all have signs. So what about put 5-6 plants under the sign name in each park? That's something that we can look for the city to help us with.
Yes. Yes.
On the neighborhood, identify places that can buy them and do what you do, and take it from there. And again, if we could, with the help of the city, identify new developers, identify new houses going up. Either talking to the contractors, because when they build the house, they could put the plants in, because they put the grass in. They could even, when they sell the house, the plant could already be there.
Well, I worked in urban renewal when I was right out of law school, and in Boston, we would have the developers, and I think it may happen here, I don't know, where you have them put some art. There's a part of the process is you put some art. Well, I think these are not mutually exclusive things, hydrangea and art. I think you talk to any new development in the city, and it should include some aspect of art / hydrangeas. If you're going to put plantings in, if you're going to put plantings in, that you should at least put some hydrangeas in concert with what the city is trying to do.
Well, my recommendation, if you have time to do it pot on pot, use this kind. But if you just look like the plant,
put it in the ground.
They can put the ones on the ground, and they're very simple. You give them a cart, you put them in a cup of water, and when the root comes out, you put it on the ground.
Well, Malcolm will say you can do that, but it won't be easy. I mean, we want
That's
success.
the thing, you need to take time to take care of it. It's not just put it on the ground and leave it there. So I think the first year needs maintaining.
Yeah.
Then when the plant starts to grow, then you just leave it, and
Well,
the water will.
I will tell you something, that when you can tell when people know about hydrangeas, macrophyllus.
Yes.
When you see a plant like this and you see wood coming out, that wood should be cut back early. So by the time this comes, you should see no wood. All right.
We done half an hour talking about the plants from Azores, and thank you, Dave.
This was a
and
pleasure.
thank you for the idea. Thank you for the idea, because thousands of people go there, but nobody came back with the idea that you had. So thank you for the idea, and let's stay in touch. And definitely, Fall River one day will have the plants all over.
Thank you, Carlos. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.